Channel, you do well to like, share, comment, and also subscribe to this channel. This is Research and Statistics, and my name is Dr. Felix Ayodele Oyeleye. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Microsoft Excel, which is a very important spreadsheet globally used in different field of endeavor. So let's get right into it. I'll try to cover the following area as it affects the Microsoft Excel. We're going to have an introduction to what Microsoft Excel itself is, and then we look at the different interface, and then I'll walk you through how to get your data into the Excel sheet and probably the Excel workbook. And then we'll look at how do you format data on Excel, what are the basic formula, what are the functions, how do you create charts using the Excel uh, software, and also working with table, saving, sharing, and then we're going to end with the common mistake beginners are often likely to make when using the Excel software. So again, the learning objective, we're going to navigate the different Excel interface. We'll enter and format data in the worksheet. So if this is your first time or you really don't understand how to use Excel, even at any point in time, please sit back. This is going to be very practical and highly interactive. So either you're a beginner or an advanced user of Excel, you will find this video very, very resourceful. So we're also going to look at the basic formulas and functions common on Excel, and how do we create our charts and table, and then how do we share and save our work. We can save documents in Excel or the output of our work in different formats, it be PDF, JPEG, or whatever. So I'm going to teach you how to do a couple of things using the Excel workbook, and then how do you actually save in different formats. So by way of introduction, Excel is a spreadsheet that is designed for data entry, data organization, data analysis, and it is widely used in school, businesses, accounting firm, government office, international organization. It has found use in the area of budgeting for efficient tracking of income and expenses, result computation in university, educational institutes globally. And it has been its a very valuable tool when it comes to survey, okay, either health related survey, national survey, research survey. It is very good in collecting your data and also analyzing the responses. And of course, Excel can as well perform some basic data analysis function. Even though essentially Excel is a data management tool, but it can also perform some basic data analysis function in terms of organizing, interpreting complex data. So let's look at the interface of Excel. The interface of Excel. Now, in the course of this presentation, we are going to also be doing some kind of hands-on task that will actually help you to better understand how the Excel software itself works. So, looking at the Excel interface, you have what we call the ribbon. On the ribbon tab, you're going to have your home, the insert, the formula, the data, and so on. And then we have what we call the worksheet in Excel. A worksheet is what you see when you open the Excel software for the first time. Okay. Now you can have several worksheets that make up what we call a workbook. The worksheet contains rows and columns. Now you also have what we call the the formula bar on Excel. The formula bar on Excel. We're going to demonstrate this one after the other. And then we have the task and the quick access tool. So the first task we're going to carry out is to open the Excel software and also identify the aforementioned parts. So this is described as our ribbon. You have the file, you have the home tab, the insert, draw, page layout, formula, data, and what have you. So this particular section of our Excel sheet is described as our ribbon. Now we also have what we call the worksheet role. This is the role. This is the role, the first role, the second role, and then we have the third role, and so on like that. And then we have what we call the formula bar. This portion is what we describe as our formula bar. This is our formula bar. And then we have the tax bar. Okay, this is our tax bar here. So whatever tax you are performing, you're going to see it here. Okay, you have the first sheet. You can add additional sheets here by clicking on this plus sign. When you click on this plus sign, you add another sheet. Okay, let's add another sheet. You can keep adding sheets. So when you have more than one sheet, we call it a workbook. So we call this a workbook now. Now, the next we're going to be talking about is working with data. How do you work with data in Excel? Okay, you can do what we call direct input of data into Excel, but it's important to understand that this comes with a high tendency of input error. That is why more often in the current digital world, people use different forms to bring in data into Excel. But either you are working with uh, the digitized form or you want to directly enter information into Excel, you are going to find it quite interesting in this presentation. So working with data, how do you enter data? Of course, again, Excel is a computerized ledger that contains rows and columns. Okay, the point of intercept of our row and column is what you call the cell. So if you type in into the cell and you enter after entering the data into the cell, you can hit on the enter button or the tab. You can also move around your cursor around a particular cell within Excel. Okay, so the activity we're going to begin carry out now is to enter this table that you have on your screen. You're going to enter it into Excel. Now you can do a direct entry of this data set into Excel, and you can as well copy it. Let's say you have this in your Microsoft Office Word, you can copy it directly and paste it into the Excel uh, uh, worksheet, and it will recognize it. Now, the interesting thing is that the Excel worksheet shares a lot of feature with our typical Microsoft Office. So we'll go ahead, copy this now and paste it into our Excel sheet. So now we have pasted our data sets. The next we're going to talk about is formatting data. How do you format data? Formatting actually means organizing, aligning, or modifying data even within our Excel sheet. So you can format by either trying to bold, you want to bold in a particular data set or the heading or the header of the data set. You can italicize, you can change font, you can make different adjustments. So again, like I said, the Excel worksheet shares or the software shares similar feature as we have in our Microsoft Word. So you can do all these formatting adjustments even within the Excel worksheet. You can adjust the column weight, you can adjust the row, the number format, the currency percentage. You can do a formatting of this depending on the actual type of data set that you want to enter into your cell. Now, the activity for this session is to format the table that we have actually created. So you're going to format the table. You want to select the headers and then you want to bolden it. And you also want to center align the scores. We'll go ahead and do that inside our Excel sheet. Number one, let's start by bolding some of the headers. Okay, all you need to do is to select any of the header and then you see the menu and then you pick bold, just the same way we do it in Microsoft Word. So you select and then you hit on bold. Another thing we can do is to italicize. We can italicize. Let's try to italicize the name. When you select it, then you click on italicize. Okay, we're going to work with the name that way by italicizing the name. Okay, another thing we can do is to change the font size. Okay, let's attempt to change the font size of the name. Now, but one important thing you observe is that for every change, we have to select the cell or the area of interest. So having selected the name, then we can click on the font size section to increase the font size. Okay, let's put this at 18. Okay, as for the font size, let's do the same to the second header, which is the score. So we put it at 18. Good. So we have been able to uh, bolden, we have italicized, and we have also changed font. Okay. Now the next we are going to talk about is how to adjust the column. How do you adjust the column? Now to adjust the entire column, you need to pick it from the top here. Okay. This is column B. The column B, you can adjust it to any width of interest. Okay. I can also come here to adjust this. Okay. So to adjust the column, you have to pick it from the top portion of the column. Okay. Now the next one we are going to talk about is number formatting. We can format this number to indicate the type of numbering we want to appear there. Let's say we want to change it to percentage, okay, such that any value inside this cell is going to be in percentage. So what we'll do is that we select the cell of interest and then we right click and then we come down to format. We click on format and then we can now go and change to percentage. You see the menu box that will show up, then we pick percentage. So when you pick percentage, you can also indicate the number of decimal places you want. Okay, and then you want to click enter. Now that will immediately affect that. Okay, so we have affected percentage with this. Okay, you can also make it in form of currency. If you have some value you want to enter and you know they are actually currency units, you can do that for another column. Now the next is working with basic formula in Excel. Excel is a very powerful tool that contains several basic arithmetic formula, even advanced formula, you have them inside Excel. But it's important to understand that when you want to make use of formula in Excel for any form of operation or computation, you must start your command with the equality sign. And this is one of the errors that is often made by uh, beginners when they make use of the Excel software. Now, we have examples of basic formula here. For addition formula is a typical addition formula we are familiar with. You can add the item or data or the information within a cell with another information within another cell. You can add within a range, like in the case of the example on the screen, you have A2 plus B2. So whatever is inside the A2 cell will be added to B2 cell. But again, it's important you introduce this formula by starting with your equality sign. And then we have the subtraction sign, the same subtraction sign, you introduce your equality sign, the A2 minus B2, and then you can have the multiplication sign as well. Now, the multiplication sign is denoted with an asterisk. You check your laptop keyboard, the asterisk is what is used for the multiplication operation here. And then we have the division operation where you use the slash. The slash is used in this case on our Excel sheet as the sign for division operation. Now the activity we're going to carry out on this is to add a new column. Now, if you look at the table we have created in our previous session, you can add a new column to add a bonus, okay, to the score we are giving to the class. So let's go ahead and do this now. Now, the next we are going to do is to attempt a few addition operation, okay. So what we're going to do here is that we want to add the value in this column together and in this row together. So what you do first is to introduce your equality sign, and then you want to select that cell, add your addition sign to it by shift. You press shift down and the plus sign, and then add the cell you want to be added to it. And then you can hit your enter tab. Now it's going to add the value in cell C3 and cell D3 together to have this. Now you can select that very summation box, the total box, and drag it down for the second uh, candidate in that particular score sheet. Now we can also do the same by finding the difference. We can also find the difference in our value. Let's say we put this as our addition, and then we can have another one as subtraction. And then we can expand our cell, our column. Okay. So for this, we're going to find difference. Okay. Let's find difference. Let's say we enter our equality sign and we want to subtract the value here from the total. We want to subtract individual value. So we are going to select what we want to subtract first before selecting. So let's say we want to subtract one value from the other one. Say we are picking this cell and we're going to subtract the second cell from it. And then we enter our tab to give us the difference, and we can select and drag it down, okay, to give us the corresponding difference. So what I'm going to do is to add another column now for our bonus. The bonus, we have bonus, and then let's say we want to be adding a bonus of 5 marks for each of these candidates. A bonus of 5 marks for each of these candidates. So when you add a bonus of 5 marks for each of the candidates, it simply means we're going to create a column where you have the total score at this point. Okay. Then again, you will introduce your equality sign, pick the total addition, and then include your addition sign, and then select the cell for the bonus, and then hit your enter tab. You can do the same for the second candidate by dragging down at the edge of the cell. So with this, we have been able to add column, we have been able to perform addition operation, subtraction operation, and we got a total. Now the next we're going to talk about is the basic functions we can also find in Excel. We have seen how to add our table. We have seen how to add column. We have also seen how to access formula within Excel. Now let's look at adding basic function in Excel. Okay. Now, Excel is built in with several uh, arithmetic function, advanced function, okay, and you can access it again by initiating your operation with an equality sign. The moment you add an equality sign, the Excel software automatically recognizes that you want to add a particular function. So if, for instance, you can have equal to, and then you type in sum. The moment you put sum, it's going to give you the different possible summation or sum operation that you can have even in Excel worksheets. The command will pop out. So you have this sum A to A10 equal to add values. Okay, so this is like adding the value from A2 to A10. It's like indicating a range. Okay, now uh, you can also initiate the average commands by still punching in, typing in your equality sign, and then you type in average, and then you want to say A2 to A10, and that speaks for the mean of the value within that particular uh, cell range. Now the next is the maximum. Okay, you can, when you include, let's say you have a data set and you want to sort to know the highest value in that data set. Same way, you are going to type AMX in your Excel sheet. Okay, you select a cell, type it in, and then you input your range. Now this is going to return the highest value in your Excel sheet. And then you can also have that even from the lowest value, which is indicated as the MIN. That means minimum. So the activity for this section is that we're going to look at, still on our table, we're going to calculate the total, the average, the highest, and the lowest score given from our table. Now you do well to also carry this out on your own so that you can actually follow as I explain the basic function. Now the next we are going to do is to perform function, some basic function like average. So we'll go ahead and create a cell just under the name and tag it average. Okay, we want to find the average score for the two candidates. So same way, we're going to introduce our equality sign. We introduce our equality sign, and then we want to type in our average. Okay, then you select the word average there, and then it will ask for the cell range. So this is asking for the cell range. So since our interest is the two candidates, we pick the first cell, hold it down, and drag it to the second, and then we drop it. And now we have to close it. We close up the parentheses before we hit our enter tab. And then it has calculated the average score for the two candidates. You can do the same for the second column by picking the edge and dragging it down. Okay. Now the next we are going to talk about is how to find our highest value, which we otherwise describe as max function. So the highest value between the two score, highest. Okay, we can come here, place our cursor there, introduce the equality sign same way. This time around, we're going to type in max, which will which is the function for our highest value. So when we double click on it, then to create open up the parentheses for us to select the cell range. So you go back and select the cell range and add a bracket to close up the parentheses, and then hit your enter tab, and then it will indicate the highest value. Now this becomes useful when you are dealing with a large data set. Same way we can do for the second column. Now, but what we're going to do now is to look for the lowest value. Lowest value. Okay. So, but for the lowest value, we're going to be selecting the minimum function. You type in the MIN, and then you see the function appear immediately. The parenthesis is already open, and then you want to select your cell range and close up the parentheses before hitting your enter tab. Now it has given us the lowest value here. Now, the next we're going to talk about is creating charts in Excel. How do you create charts in Excel? There are different types of charts that can actually help our data presentation for easy visualization. Okay. Now, how do you do that? The first thing to do is to select your table. You have to select the entire table on your in your Excel, and after selecting the entire table, you will then click on the Insert tab in Excel, and then you want to choose a chart. Usually, Excel will make a recommendation of chart for you based on the data selection you have just made. So, but if you want a different one, you can also always pick that from the array of charts. You can have your bar chart, your pie chart, or also your line graph. So charts helps to visualize data quickly. So it is important you know how to make use of Excel to create charts. Now the activity for this page, this section, is to create a bar chart of the student score that we already have in our table. So we'll go ahead now on our Excel sheet and see how we can create a chart of the student score. Now at this point, we want to create our charts. We want to create our charts, and the first thing to do is to select our table. Recall that this is the data area of our sheet. So we select our table, and then we want to choose the insert button. When you click on the insert button, it opens up the ribbon where you see the different menu of the Excel sheet. And here you can also make use of the recommended charts like I mentioned earlier. If you click on the recommended charts, Excel will give you the most appropriate charts you could use even for these data sets. Let's say we go along with the recommended charts, and by selecting the second one, and then you come here and click OK. Now you can see that Excel has already brought in our charts. Let's do a quick zoom in to appreciate the chart. Okay, so we can see the chart is already drawn. You can now go ahead to format your chart and label the chart appropriately. You want to give your chart the heading. Now, aside creating a bar chart, you can also create a pie chart using the data before us, or you can as well create a line chart. All you need to do is to go back to the Insert app, and then you choose the pie charts. You can pick up the pie chart here. I've selected the pie charts, so we have our pie chart created. You can go back again and pick on a line graph, okay, and you also have a line graph created. Now, the next we're going to talk about is working with tables. Okay, working with tables. There are different ways you can actually work with table using the Excel score sheet, the Excel sheets. Okay, converting the data into table. All you need to do is again to select your table. When you select your table, you go to Insert button, and then you input it in a table. Okay, you can put your chart in a table. Now the benefit of this is that it also helps easy sorting and filtering of your data set. Now the activity for this section is that we're going to sort our student score from the highest to the lowest. So we'll go ahead now to our Excel sheet, and sort the student score and put them accordingly from the highest even to the lowest in our table. Now, the next operation we're going to perform is the sorting operation. How do we sort? Let's say we have more candidates indicated here. Let's add a few more candidates to make the sorting a little bit much reasonable. Good. So we have additional number of candidates, and now we want to sort. Same way, when you want to sort, you have to select the cell range of interest, and then you want to right click on the selected area, and then you move down in the menu box to the sort. So you can sort from the smallest to the largest, you can sort largest to the smallest, and you can also do a custom sorting. Let's say we want to sort for the smallest to the largest. So all you need to do is to click on the uh, right choice, click on continue with the current selection, and then within few seconds, your data set is already sorted. You can do the same for the second. Let's say we want to sort for the second score going from the largest to the smallest. We can do the same. So all you need to do is to right click on select first, then right click, and then click on sort largest to smallest. And then it will ask you if that will expand this selection or to continue with the current selection. Choose continue with the current selection and then click on sort, and then it has sorted it. So you can see this is sorted starting with the smallest to the largest, and the second is sorted starting from the largest to the smallest. Now, the next we're going to talk about is saving and sharing file in Excel. How do you save your work in Excel? You have maybe done your data entry or performed data cleaning or even carried out some basic data analysis. Now, how do you save your document in Excel? So the first thing to do is to head over to the top left hand corner in your Excel sheet on your Excel sheet and click on File. You click on File, then you're going to see a broad down menu where you are going to click on Save, and then you want to choose a location where you are going to save the file. And even there, you are going to also decide the file format. Recall I mentioned earlier on that you could save Excel sheets in different formats, even in PDF, in Word, depending on your interest, okay, or the purpose of saving your document. So you can as well share your document in email. You can also upload it on OneDrive or even the Google Drive. Now, the activity for this section is that we're going to attempt to save our file using the name student underscores dot xlx. That's the extension. This is the extension for Excel sheet xlsx. Okay, so we go ahead to our Excel sheet and save it using this particular name. Now, as we conclude, the last part we're going to talk about now is how to save your file. Now, you head right to the top left hand corner here where you have your file. You click on it. You can now come down on the menu list to choose Save As from the file uh, the file setting. If you click on Save As, then The system will prompt you to decide the folder you want to save your data. Let's say I decide to save it on desktop. I select desktop, and here I want to enter a name. Now this time around, we want to enter the name we have for this exercise, that is student underscore scores. And then we want to save it in XLX file. So you click on the Save as Type uh, section, where you are going to see the brought down menu, from where you are going to select your XLS. Of course, your XLS is your default Excel workbook. So we're going to just select our Excel workbook, and then we click Save. So our document has already been saved. So when you come up here, where the name of the document is, you're going to see the name of the document clearly saved up there, just at the top. Okay. Now, as we round up, we're going to be talking about the common mistake beginners often make when they make use of the Excel sheets. Okay, what are the common mistakes that, as a beginner, that you should try to avoid when working with the Excel software? The first one we're going to talk about is forgetting to start your formula with a quality sign. Okay, it's going to return an error, or it will not even perform any operation at all. Okay, so you must always ensure that if you want to make use of a formula or a function, you must always start with an equality sign. Excel automatically understands that you want to perform an operation. Now, the second is typing number as text. Sometimes you may have formatted you might have formatted a particular cell or column to indicate or to accept only numbers. If you type text there, it's going to return also as error. We're going to demonstrate all that. Number three is overwriting cell accidentally. You can overwrite cell accidentally in Excel. The moment you click on a cell, regardless of whether a data cell information is there before, it's likely going to accept a new modification, and that may lead to overwriting what is inside that particular cell, except that cell has actually been programmed or there's a command you have entered into that cell even beforehand. Now, the fourth possible mistake is not saving your work frequently. Okay, it's important to save documents when you work, either with the Excel sheet or any other digital platform whatsoever. Okay, now let's quickly have a recap as we round up on the the Microsoft Excel. We have talked about the Excel interface, how we move around on the Excel interface, and then we'll discuss our data entry and formatting, the basic formulas and functions, the chart and table, and how we can save or share our file from Excel. Okay, now the activity you may need to uh, carry out is to put together the expenses you have made in 1 week. By that, you want to create a data set and see how you can analyze it, look at the highest, the minimum, the maximum, and you can as well find average. You can even create a column where you may want to make certain addition. Okay. Now, this is the much we're going to take on Excel, Microsoft Excel tutorial for beginners. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do well to subscribe, like the page, and I will see you in my next class. Thanks for listening.